A design law perspective on God, suffering, and trust. At some point in life, almost everyone asks this question. If God is so good and so loving, why does he allow bad things to happen? Sometimes it's a quiet thought. Sometimes it's a cry from a hospital room, a graveside, or a broken heart. And often, what we're really asking is, can I trust God when life hurts this much? Today, I want to look at this question through a design law lens, a way of understanding God that speaks not only to our faith, but also to our logic and our lived experience. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. The problem with a punishment model. Many people grow up with a picture of God that sounds something like this. Good behavior brings blessings. Bad behavior brings suffering. If you're righteous, life should go smoothly. If you're suffering, you must have done something wrong. But real life doesn't work like that, and Scripture doesn't pretend that it does. When we view God primarily as a rule enforcer who hands out rewards and punishments, suffering becomes confusing, and faith becomes fragile. Because what happens when you're doing your best and life still falls apart? He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. Matthew 5:45. What is design law? Design law says this: God is not the arbitrary cause of pain and suffering. He is the creator of reality. Just like gravity governs the physical world, love, truth, freedom, and trust govern the moral and relational world. When reality is violated, suffering naturally follows, not because God is angry, but because reality itself has been damaged. God doesn't punish us with reality. He warns us about it. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Galatians 6:7. Why do bad people sometimes prosper? This question isn't new. King David wrestled with it openly. He looked around and saw people who were dishonest, arrogant, and cruel, yet wealthy, comfortable, and seemingly untouched by hardship. From a design law perspective, this makes sense. Short-term success is not the same as long-term health. A person can manipulate others and still accumulate money. They can ignore conscience and still feel pleasure, temporarily. But eternal decay often happens quietly, and consequences don't always show up right away. I envied the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Psalm 73:3. Why do good people suffer? This is where the pain deepens. Suffering is not proof of guilt. Pain is not evidence of God's disapproval. Jesus himself rejected the idea that tragedy equals punishment. We live in a world that is fractured by sin, not just morally, but biologically, socially, and relationally. Other people's choices affect us. Systems are broken. Bodies wear down. Trauma spreads. God does not override reality every time someone gets hurt, because doing so would destroy freedom, and without freedom, love cannot exist. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. John 16:33. The Book of Job, a key insight. The Book of Job exists to dismantle the lie that suffering equals guilt. Job's friends were convinced God wouldn't allow this unless you did something wrong, but God himself says they were wrong. Job wasn't being punished. He was living in a damaged reality, and God never abandoned him in it. You have not spoken the truth about me, as my servant Job has. Job 42:7. Where is God in the suffering? Here's where Christianity stands alone. God doesn't explain suffering from a distance. He enters it. In Jesus, God experiences betrayal, injustice, pain, and death. Not to satisfy a legal requirement, but to heal humanity from the inside out. God did not say, "Figure it out and come to me." He says, "I will come to you." Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. Isaiah 53:4. Love requires freedom. A God who controls everything may feel safer, but a God who allows freedom is more loving. Love cannot be forced. Trust cannot be programmed. And growth cannot happen without risk. God does not cause all things, but he works within all things to redeem, restore, and heal. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. Romans 8:28. A word to the suffering heart. If you're hurting right now, hear this. Your pain is not proof that God has left you. Your suffering is not evidence that you're being punished. Your questions do not disqualify your faith. God values your trust, not your performance. The Bible is filled with lament, grief, and honest cries to God. Honesty is not rebellion. It's relationship. Pour out your hearts to him, for God is our refuge. Psalm 62:8. Hope and restoration. Design law doesn't promise a pain-free life, but it reveals a trustworthy God. A God who does not cause suffering, but who enters it, redeems it, and promises it will not last forever. One day, reality itself will be healed. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. Revelation 21:4. If this message brought clarity or comfort, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may be hurting. Thank you for being here. You are not alone.